So, ladies and gentlemen, deserved break, not just for the players who've been playing constantly, but also for us to kind of detach a little bit from continuous matches and focus more on the behind the scenes, maybe drifting back the transfer market. And it's that time of the year where renewals of contracts are now becoming a priority. Now, not that we have a lot of time because, we're playing again a very important match this weekend, and on Friday we will start talking about that match. But we have a couple of days, to speak about what Thiago Pinto's been up to, and especially the transfer market, which I think it's something which, once the season starts, you really pay no attention to it. And more than transfer market, rather than news on players who we need to buy, which is still very early to do that, that normally comes in January, so quite a lot of time to go. It's the perfect time of the year where contracts and renewals of contracts and understanding the players who want to renew the contract, and especially who you want to renew the contract to, because there are a lot of players in this team which have to be, their contracts need to be prioritized. Now, I am looking at the players that we have, and obviously the big name that pops up is Zaniolo. He is obviously the priority. Nico has to renew that contract. We've said this since day one, since the end of the Portugal tour, where we saw a different attitude to Nico, and we definitely understood that something happened. Nico is still there. Nico's contract is Thiago Pinto's priority right now. If there's one player which we need to renew the contract as soon as possible, it's Nico. So every week, if you ask me, there are meetings between his agents and Thiago Pinto. The only thing to agree on Nico's contract is his wages, because you see, he wants an increase, and Roma are willing to give an increase, but at the same time they want Nico to start bagging the goals, to start bagging the assists, and all of that, because at the end of the season, I think Nico gives a massive change to the dynamics of a match. But let's not forget, he has 0 goals and 0 assists in the Serie A up to now. Smalling's got more goals than him, and Smalling is a centre back. So some things need to reach the limits of being realistic. So Nico is the priority, and there won't be any problems, in my opinion, when it comes to Nico's contract. It was basically done a few weeks ago. Then in the next couple of months, max, it will come. So there is nothing to worry about the Nico situation, if you ask me. Now, other players, which obviously, I think Mourinho is the primary factor here. When it comes to renewals of contract, I think the first player to decide is Jose. And then obviously you've got some exceptions like Pellegrini, who is the captain of Roma, who's basically tied to this club. He's a Roma fan since he was a little child. He's the captain of this team. He needs to continue this legacy. You've got some players which it's basically a must for them to sign a new contract. But you've got players like Cristante, who I think is going to renew a new contract. Mancini renewed his last season. And one of these is Zalewski. Now, Zalewski is a player which, it could be argued that Zalewski is the player which, from when Jose picked him up to now, is the player who grew the most, who became better when it comes to that. Let's not forget that Zalewski got picked by Mourinho from the academy last season. And at the end of last season, did he start? I'm not sure if he started. Anyways, a few months after he got drafted from the academy team, he won a trophy. And, it's not like he won a trophy by sitting on the bench. He won a trophy by being a real part of last season's team. And this season, he has become a starting player. And we're in a situation right now where it could be said that he's playing even better than his rival, which is Spina. I say rival, they aren't rivals. They're just rivals when it comes to who starts and all of that. You see, the growth, the confidence boost which this guy had and has achieved is something else. His value is around 20 to 25 million. and last season he played for the academy team. That is significant. It's significant because many clubs are interested in him, and that's why we have to prioritize his renewal of contract. And we'll speak about the clubs we're interested in a second. Just out, something which took me out of surprise, and I think if you don't already know this, I'm gonna catch you by surprise here. The Golden Boy Award will be announced the 7th of November, so in less than a month. And you've got players like Zalewski, like Camavinga, like Gavi from Barcelona. You've got players like, you've got Pedri isn't a Golden Boy Award anymore. Obviously, he would win it otherwise. He's a Ballon d'Or. Out of all these players, Zalewski is leading the race. Now, it's kind of different from the Ballon d'Or because the Ballon d'Or, it's journalists who decide who wins it. The Golden Boy, it's actually people voting. We here can vote for the Golden Boy. Zalewski is leading the race. Now you look at that list and you've got players like Camavinga, who won a Champions League last season. You've got players like Adeyemi from Borussia Dortmund, which I think is a massive prospect of the next generation of football. You've got Gavi from Barcelona, who just comes from a Copa Award during their Ballon d'Or night. Zalewski's leading the race. Zalewski could win the Golden Boy Award in less than a month because right now anything can happen. The fact that he's first now doesn't mean you'll win it, but he is leading the race. It's Zalewski first, Camavinga second, and it's someone from Benfica third, which I've never heard of. I'll tell you in a matter of seconds. Golden Boy 2022. Yep, Zalewski first, Camavinga second. Right, let me. So yeah, Zalewski's first, Camavinga second, and Antonio Silva from Benfica is third. That's a big statement. So without a doubt, he's a player which has to renew his contract 100%. Now, when it will happen, Roma's objective, so Zalewski's contract ends in 2025, which is in a lot of time. But Roma want to boost that even further. In fact, they want him to sign a new contract before his contract expires. And they want to extend this contract until 2027. Now, Zalewski right now earns around 300 grand. Obviously there would be an increase in wages. I think it would be around, it would even reach the 1 millions if you ask me. But I think it's fully deserved. And if there's one player which deserves it, I think it's Zalewski. I think Zalewski deserves, a boost in wages more than Nico does, if you ask me, because of the time, because of the amount of just the growth this guy has, the confidence growth, all of that. And it's great to have a prospect of futuristic football in our team. It's great. And teams who have prospects like Gavi, like Pedri, like Zalewski, like that guy from Benfica, Antonio Silva, like Camavinga, or teams which have a massive advantage because it means that your academy team works really well, especially if it's a player which you've grown and obviously didn't buy. So yeah, when it comes to that, it hit me as well. I would never have said Zalewski first. Obviously, the fact that he won the Conference League definitely boosted. But you've got Camavinga who won a Champions League, so I don't know. But it's people who voted, so we can go and vote for whoever you want. Hopefully, it's gonna be Zalewski. Anyways, speaking about his contract, as I said, it would be a boost until 2027, and clubs which are interested is something very important because a lot of big clubs are interested in Zalewski. A lot of big clubs. Now in Italy, Juventus are primarily interested, but obviously, again, he's someone who comes from the academy. It's hard, just like I think with Nico, right? No, not with Nico, actually. Just like I think with other players. These players like Zalewski, in my opinion, are way... If they leave Roma, they're going to leave for Premier League or, La Liga clubs. I can't see Zalewski leaving Roma to go to another Serie A club. You either leave Roma and you go to the Premier League or something like that. You know, I think that's why, yes, Italian clubs are interested in him, but these clubs are not the clubs that scare me the most. Because there are Premier League clubs which are heavily interested in Zalewski. Now, the club which is interested in Zalewski the most comes from the Premier League, and it's in fact Tottenham, because Antonio Conte is a big admirer of Zalewski. In fact, this summer, you know, when we bought Dybala, when we bought Wijnaldum, everyone expected, no one expected us to buy very big players and not sell anyone. And at a certain point, there were rumors being said about Conte being really interested, really admired by Zalewski. And everyone was right. Everyone was like, right, we bought Dybala, we bought Wijnaldum, we have to sacrifice a big player. That's just how not being a club like Man City, PSG works. You buy big players, sometimes you sacrifice big players as well. So everyone was kind of convinced that Zalewski was going to leave this summer because Tottenham are heavily interested in him. And this is why Roma want to make him sign a new contract before the other one expires. One, because you can avoid any risk of losing him for free, which would be a killer, would be us stabbing ourselves in the heart. But second of all, because the second he signs a new contract until 2027, which is in a lot of time, it's the year that the new stadium is set to be built. That's just to give you a timescale. It's in a lot of time. If Tottenham want to buy him first, before 2027, they would need to pay a lot of money. Now, his value is around 20 to 25 million. Roma retain him 3 times as valuable. Roma actually right now think that Zalewski is worth 60 million euros. So if anyone wants Zalewski right now, it's a big financial, it's a big financial move. It's a big economic move. Because 60 million euros is a lot, especially for a very young player. But this is and I'm liking this, because one of the big problems in our last ownerships was that we did not have the balls to say no. The second a big club approached one of our players, to get that money, we would always say yes. And you look at the players we sold, and you're like, Mo Salah's gone, Rudiger's gone, Alisson's gone, all of these players. And you're like, because we did not have the balls to say no to a team. Now, setting your standards high and saying to one of the teams which you're interested in one of your players, and you say to them, right, okay, you're interested in him, but you have to pay a lot of money. And that is something which the last ownership did not have. It's a mentality which they didn't have. Because the second a big club approached us, the second they offered not even... we sold Salah for 60 million euros. Not even. Around 50 to 60 million euros. Look at how much Salah, is worth right now. We sold Alisson for like 35 million, something like that. Those are not price tags which you kind of say no to other opponents to. Because the second you say to Liverpool, right, you want Salah, yeah, give me 30 million. Liverpool's like, sure, 30 million's nothing for me. I can double that if you want, but you ask for 30 million, I'll give you 30 million. 30 million is nothing for clubs like Liverpool, clubs like Real Madrid, clubs like Tottenham. That's why we have to ask them for a lot of money. And again, that shows you that there are rich clubs, poor clubs, and clubs which want to be like rich clubs but can't be. And that's what Mourinho said in his last press conference. So yeah, situation is this. The two parts are getting closer and closer to renew Zalewski's contract, as well as Zalewski's contract. Zaniolo's contract is getting closer and closer. It isn't definite yet. It isn't official yet, but it's coming closer. Cristante is another player which Mourinho wants to renew his contract, and yeah, I mean, this is a situation. It's that time of the year where Pinto's like, right, it's time to sort out some contracts. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, quick live stream to speak about some prioritization of contracts behind the scenes. And yeah, if you haven't already, make sure to smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, follow me here on Instagram over at Simon_AS_. And yeah, I mean, we'll start we'll start speaking about the big game on Sunday in a bit, because it's a very big game. We really have to try not lose, even though it's going to be very hard for us. But yeah, I mean, I'll catch you soon, and let me know in the comments what you think about Zalewski's renewal of contract. Zalewski deserves a bigger club. Would be a good DiMarco backup. No, Zalewski deserves Roma. Zalewski's a Roma boy. Zalewski's a Roma boy. He doesn't deserve a bigger club. Right, I'll catch you soon. Simon.